The Awakening. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before Admiral Zara Chen as she stood on the bridge of the CSS Phantom, the flagship of Earth's secret ghost fleet. For centuries, humanity had hidden in the shadows of the galaxy, biding its time and building its strength in secret. Now, as an unprecedented threat loomed on the horizon, the time had come for Earth to reveal its hand. Zara's dark eyes scanned the holographic displays surrounding her, each one showcasing a different facet of the unfolding galactic crisis. The Galactic Confederation, a loose alliance of alien races that had long dominated interstellar politics, was in chaos. A new aggressive species known as the Void Crawlers had emerged from uncharted space, laying waste to world after world with terrifying efficiency. Admiral, her XO, Commander Ravi Mehta, called out, "We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." Zara nodded, her short-cropped silver hair catching the light of the bridge's illumination. "Put it through." The holographic image of Fleet Admiral Yuki Tanaka, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, materialized before her. Even through the projection, Tanaka's steely gaze conveyed the gravity of the situation. "Admiral Chen, the time has come. The Void Crawlers have breached the Orion Arm. The Galactic Confederation is on the verge of collapse. We can no longer stand idly by." Zara's heart raced, but her voice remained steady. "Understood, sir. The Ghost Fleet stands ready." "What are our orders?" Tanaka's expression softened slightly. "You're to make contact with the Confederation leadership, offer our assistance, but make it clear that we operate independently. The fate of the galaxy may rest in your hands, Admiral." As the transmission ended, Zara turned to face her crew. The bridge of the Phantom buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. For many, this would be their first time engaging with the wider galactic community. "Set course for the Confederation capital," Zara commanded. "It's time to introduce ourselves to the neighborhood." As the Phantom and its accompanying fleet of advanced stealth ships slipped into FTL, Zara couldn't help but marvel at the journey that had brought humanity to this point. In the centuries since Earth's first disastrous contact with alien life, her people had worked tirelessly in secret reverse engineering alien technology and pushing the boundaries of human innovation. The Ghost Fleet was the culmination of those efforts. Ships more advanced than anything the Confederation had ever seen, crewed by the best and brightest Earth had to offer. But would it be enough to turn the tide against the Void Crawlers? Hours later, the fleet dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Confederation capital system. Almost immediately, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple hostile contacts detected," the tactical officer shouted. "Void Crawler ships engaging Confederation forces." Through the viewscreen, Zara watched as sleek, Obsidian ships tore through the Confederation's defensive line with ruthless efficiency. The defenders, a hodgepodge of vessels from various alien races, were putting up a valiant fight, but it was clear they were outmatched. Zara's mind raced, weighing the risks and potential outcomes. They hadn't planned on revealing themselves in the middle of a pitched battle, but the opportunity to make a decisive first impression was too good to pass up. "Battle stations," she ordered, her voice calm but filled with authority. "Weapons free. Target the Void Crawler ships only. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can do." The Ghost Fleet sprang into action, their advanced cloaking technology allowing them to close in on the enemy undetected. When they were in optimal firing position, Zara gave the command. "Fire." Lances of brilliant energy erupted from the human ships, cutting through the Void Crawlers' defenses like they were tissue paper. Swarms of self-guided missiles followed, each one finding its mark with unerring accuracy. In a matter of minutes, the tide of battle had turned. As the last Void Crawler ship exploded in a brilliant fireball, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. Zara could almost feel the shocked stares of the Confederation forces as they tried to process what had just happened. "Open a channel to the Confederation flagship," she instructed the communications officer. A moment later, the image of an alien appeared on the viewscreen. It was a Zentari, a species known for their logical minds and blue-tinged skin. The aliens' compound eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of agitation in their species. "This is High Commander Excelthor of the Galactic Confederation," the alien said, its translator conveying a mix of gratitude and suspicion. "We thank you for your timely assistance, but I must ask, who are you?" Zara stepped forward, standing tall and proud. "I am Admiral Zara Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We've come to offer our help in the fight against the Void Crawlers." Zelthor's eyes widened in surprise. "Earth? But your world was quarantined centuries ago. How did you?" "A lot can change in a few hundred years, High Commander," Zara interrupted with a small smile. "We've been busy, and now we're ready to rejoin the galactic community. As equals, not as subjects." The Zentari seemed to struggle with this for a moment before nodding slowly. "We would be fools to refuse your aid in these dire times. Please, dock with our station. There is much to discuss." As the transmission ended, Zara turned to her crew. Their faces shone with pride and determination. They had trained their whole lives for this moment, and they had risen to the occasion magnificently. "Well done, everyone," she said, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. "But this is just the beginning. The real challenge lies ahead." As the Phantom maneuvered towards the Confederation station, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of a new era. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage in spectacular fashion. Now came the hard part, forging alliances, sharing knowledge, and preparing for the battles to come. The Void Crawlers had awoken a sleeping giant, and as Zara prepared to meet with the leaders of the Galactic Confederation, she silently vowed that humanity would not rest until the threat was vanquished and peace restored to the galaxy. Little did she know, the greatest challenges and the most shocking revelations were yet to come. Rising to the challenge, the cavernous chamber of the Galactic Confederation's High Council buzzed with a cacophony of alien voices. Representatives from dozens of species argued heatedly, their translators struggling to keep up with the rapid-fire exchange. At the center of it all stood Admiral Zara Chen, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos around her. "Order." High Commander Zelthor's voice boomed over the din. The Zentari's compound eyes swept across the room, silencing the squabbling delegates. "We have heard Admiral Chen's proposal. Now we must decide." Zara took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight of the moment. In the week since humanity's dramatic entrance onto the galactic stage, she had been locked in intense negotiations with the Confederation leadership. The stakes couldn't be higher. The fate of entire civilizations hung in the balance. A serpentine creature with iridescent scales slithered forward. "The Chauvery people cannot accept this," it hissed. "How can we trust a species that has hidden from us for centuries?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Zara steeled herself, ready to respond, but was surprised when another voice spoke up in her defense. "And where were you, noble Chauvery, when the Void Crawlers decimated the Thraxi homeworld?" The speaker was a Volcrin, a being of living crystal that sparkled under the chamber's lights. "Humanity has offered us advanced technology and military might when we need it most. We would be fools to refuse." As the debate raged on, Zora's mind drifted to the enormous task that lay ahead. The Ghost Fleet was formidable, but it alone wouldn't be enough to turn the tide against the Void Crawlers. They needed to share technology, coordinate strategies, and most importantly, learn to trust one another. Finally, after hours of intense discussion, a consensus was reached. The Galactic Confederation would accept Earth's offer of alliance with conditions. Humanity would share its technological advancements, but in return, they would be granted a seat on the High Council and full autonomy for their military operations. As the session adjourned, Zara felt a mix of relief and trepidation. They had cleared the first hurdle, but the real work was just beginning. Back aboard the Phantom, Zara convened a meeting with her top officers and the newly arrived Earth diplomats. The ship's conference room was abuzz with activity as they planned their next moves. "Our first priority is upgrading the Confederation's defenses," Commander Ravi Mehta explained, gesturing to a holographic display of the galaxy. "We've identified key strategic points where we can deploy our shield technology to create a buffer zone against void crawler incursions." Dr. Lyra Jong, Earth's lead xenotechnologist, chimed in. "We've also made significant progress in analyzing void crawler tech from the debris we've collected. Their quantum phase drives are unlike anything we've seen before. If we can crack their secrets, it could give us a major advantage." Zara nodded, taking in the information. "Excellent work, both of you. But we can't forget the human element in all of this. Many of these alien races have never worked alongside humans before. We need to build trust, foster cooperation." As if on cue, the ship's AI announced an incoming transmission from the Volcran representative. Zara accepted the call, and the crystalline face of Ambassador Zix materialized before them. "Admiral Chen." Zix's melodious voice rang out. "I bring urgent news. We've detected a massive void crawler fleet massing in the Epsilon sector. They appear to be preparing for a major offensive." Zara's mind raced, analyzing the implications. The Epsilon sector was home to several key Confederation worlds, including a major shipyard. If it fell, their ability to produce new ships would be crippled. "Thank you, Ambassador," Zara replied, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We'll move to intercept immediately." As the transmission ended, Zara turned to her team. "This is it, people. Our first major engagement alongside our new allies. Let's show them what humanity can do." The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as the Ghost Fleet, accompanied by ships from various Confederation races, made their way to the Epsilon sector. Zara spent countless hours coordinating with alien commanders, integrating their tactics and technologies into a cohesive battle plan. As they approached the conflict zone, the enormity of the threat became clear. The Void Crawler Armada was vast, easily outnumbering the Allied forces 3-1. Their obsidian ships seemed to absorb the very light of the stars, creating a terrifying void in space. "All ships, battle formations," Zara commanded, her voice carrying across the entire fleet. "Remember your training. Trust in each other. We fight not just for Earth, but for every sentient being in this galaxy." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ingenuity melded with alien technologies in ways that caught the void crawlers off guard. Volcran crystal ships refracted energy weapons, amplifying their power. Silvery vessels slithered through space in unpredictable patterns, drawing enemy fire away from the heavy hitters. And at the heart of it all was the Ghost Fleet, their advanced shields and weapons tearing through the void crawler lines. Zara coordinated the battle with a mixture of tactical brilliance and adaptive thinking that left her alien allies in awe. But the void crawlers were not to be underestimated. As the battle raged on, they began to adapt, their ships shifting and transforming in ways that defied the laws of physics. It was then that Zara realized they were dealing with something far beyond their understanding. In the heat of the conflict, the Phantom found itself isolated, surrounded by void crawler ships. As energy blasts rocked the vessel, Zara made a split-second decision that would change the course of the war. "Divert all power to the phase drive," she ordered. "We're going to ram the void crawler command ship." The crew looked at her in shock, but there was no time for questions. As the Phantom accelerated to impossible speeds, reality itself seemed to warp around them. In a blinding flash of light, they phased through the void crawler defenses and emerged inside the massive enemy vessel. What Zara and her crew discovered in those few chaotic moments would shake the foundations of their understanding of the universe. The interior of the void crawler ship was not filled with alien beings, but with swirling vortexes of dark energy and fragments of realities that should not exist. As klaxons blared and the ship began to tear itself apart around them, Zara gave the order to retreat. The Phantom barely escaped as the void crawler command ship imploded, taking a significant portion of their fleet with it. In the aftermath of the battle, as the Allied forces regrouped and tended to their wounded, a stunned silence fell over the fleet. They had won a significant victory, but at what cost? And more importantly, what had they truly been fighting? As Zara looked out at the starfield, her mind reeling from what she had witnessed, she knew that the nature of this war had fundamentally changed. The Void Crawlers were not just an alien threat. They were something far more terrifying and incomprehensible. The challenge ahead was greater than anyone had imagined, but as she watched human and alien crews working side by side, sharing in their hard-fought victory, Zara felt a glimmer of hope. Together, they might just stand a chance against the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. Little did they know, the true test of their newfound alliance was yet to come. Turning the tide. The aftermath of the Battle of Epsilon Sector reverberated across the galaxy. News of the Allied victory spread like wildfire, igniting hope in worlds that had long since surrendered to despair. But for Admiral Zara Chen and her inner circle, the triumph was tempered by the unsettling revelations about the true nature of their enemy. In the weeks that followed, the Phantom became a hub of feverish activity. The ship's laboratories were crowded with the brightest minds from a dozen species, all working tirelessly to unravel the mysteries of the Void Crawlers. Dr. Lyra Zhang hunched over a holographic display, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered," she explained to the assembled group of human and alien scientists. "The Void Crawlers aren't just crossing space, they're tunneling through the very fabric of reality itself." A Quanxi scientist, its tentacles waving in agitation, chimed in. "But that's impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical." Lyra finished. "Yet somehow, they're doing it. And if we can figure out how, it could change everything." As the scientific team delved deeper into the enigma of the Void Crawlers, Zara found herself navigating an equally complex web of galactic politics. The victory had earned humanity respect, but with it came increased scrutiny and demands from their allies. In a private meeting with High Commander Excelthor, Zara faced tough questions. "Your Ghost Fleet's performance was impressive," the Zentari admitted, his compound eyes fixed on Zara. "But some members of the Council are concerned. How long has Earth possessed this level of technology? What else are you hiding?" Zara chose her words carefully. "High Commander, Earth's isolation was as much for our protection as it was by choice. We've had centuries to innovate, to prepare. But now, we're here as partners. Our secrets are your secrets." Excelthor seemed to consider this for a moment before nodding slowly. "Very well, Admiral. But remember, trust goes both ways. We'll be watching closely." As Zara left the meeting, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking a razor's edge. One misstep could shatter the fragile alliance they'd built. But there was no time for doubt. Reports were coming in of increased Void Crawler activity across multiple sectors. The enemy was adapting, evolving new strategies to counter the Allied forces. They needed a game changer, and fast. It came in the form of an unexpected breakthrough. Lieutenant Aisha Kapoor, a brilliant young engineer from the Phantom's crew, burst into Zara's ready room, her eyes wild with excitement. "Admiral, I think we've cracked it," she exclaimed, barely remembering to salute. "We found a way to detect the quantum signatures of the Void Crawlers' phase drives before they materialize." The implications were staggering. With this technology, they could predict where the Void Crawlers would strike next, potentially even setting traps for the enemy. Zara wasted no time. She immediately called a meeting of the Allied Command, presenting the new findings. The response was electric. For the first time, they had a real chance to take the fight to the enemy. Over the next few months, the tide of war began to shift. Armed with their new detection capabilities and bolstered by ever-improving cooperation between species, the Allied forces launched a series of preemptive strikes against Void Crawler staging areas. But victory came at a cost. As they pushed deeper into enemy territory, the horrors of war took their toll. Zara watched as friends and comrades fell in battle, saw the haunted looks in the eyes of survivors who had witnessed reality's twist and shatter around them. One particular mission stood out in Zara's mind. The Ghost Fleet, along with a contingent of Volcran and Soveri ships, had traced a major void crawler signal to an uncharted system deep in the galactic core. What they found there defied comprehension. A massive structure hung in space, a twisted amalgamation of technology and warped space-time. As they approached, reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. "By the cosmic egg," breathed Ambassador Zix, his crystalline form trembling. "What is that monstrosity?" Before anyone could respond, the structure pulsed with dark energy. Portals ripped open in the fabric of space, disgorging wave after wave of void crawler ships. The battle that ensued was like nothing they had ever experienced. Ships phased in and out of reality, weapons fire bent in impossible arcs, and entire squadrons vanished into rifts in spacetime, never to be seen again. In the chaos, Zara made a fateful decision. "All ships, concentrate fire on that central spire," she commanded, indicating a pulsing core at the heart of the structure. "Whatever that thing is, we need to shut it down." The combined firepower of the Allied fleet lanced towards the target. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a silent scream that tore at the very essence of reality, the structure began to collapse in on itself. "All ships, maximum thrust," Zora shouted. "Get us out of here now." They barely escaped as the unnatural singularity devoured everything in its path, taking the significant portion of the void crawler fleet with it. As the survivors regrouped at a safe distance, a stunned silence fell over the comm channels. They had won a major victory, but the cost had been horrific. Nearly a third of their fleet was gone, and the survivors were shell-shocked, their minds struggling to process what they had witnessed. As Zara looked out at the battered remains of their forces, she felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. They were fighting an enemy that defied the very laws of nature, and with each encounter, the line between reality and nightmare blurred further. But amidst the despair, there was a glimmer of hope. The diverse species of the Allied fleet had fought as one, their unique strengths complementing each other in ways that would have been unimaginable just months ago. Humanity had proven its worth 100 times over, earning the trust and respect of their galactic neighbors. As the fleet limped home, Zara knew that this war was far from over. The void crawlers would regroup, would find new ways to strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. But for the first time since this conflict began, she allowed herself to believe that they might actually win. Little did she know, the greatest challenge, and the most heartbreaking sacrifice, still lay ahead. The tide was turning, but the storm that would decide the fate of the galaxy was only just beginning to gather its strength. The heart of darkness. The war room of the Phantom hummed with tension as Admiral Zara Chen surveyed the holographic map before her. Pinpoints of light represented Allied worlds, while ominous dark patches marked areas of void crawler activity. The map had changed dramatically over the past months. For every victory they claimed, the enemy seemed to grow more desperate, more unpredictable. "Our latest intelligence suggests the void crawlers are massing for a major offensive," Commander Ravi Mehta reported, his usually calm demeanor strained. "But we can't pinpoint their target. It's as if they're everywhere and nowhere at once." Zara nodded grimly. Despite their technological breakthroughs, the enemy remained frustratingly elusive. "What about Project Lighthouse?" she asked, turning to Dr. Lyra Jong. The xenotechnologist's eyes lit up with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "We're close to a breakthrough, Admiral. If our calculations are correct, we should be able to create a device that can not only detect void crawler activity, but potentially disrupt their phase technology." It was a ray of hope, but Zara knew they were running out of time. The Allied forces were stretched thin, and morale was flagging in the face of an enemy that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. As the meeting adjourned, a priority message flashed across the main screen. Zara's heart sank as she read the contents. The Void Crawlers had launched a devastating attack on a key Allied world, Novaterra, a planet that had become a symbol of cooperation between humanity and alien races. All hands, battle stations, Zara's voice rang out across the ship. We're making an emergency jump to Novaterra. May the stars guide us. The journey to Novaterra was tense, the crew of the Phantom and its accompanying fleet steeling themselves for what lay ahead. As they dropped out of FTL on the edge of the system, the scene that greeted them was one of nightmarish chaos. The once beautiful world was scared and burning, its atmosphere choked with ash and debris. Void crawler ships swarmed like locusts, their weapons tearing reality itself asunder. But amidst the destruction, pockets of resistance still fought on, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Allied races. This is Admiral Chen to all Allied forces, Zara broadcast. Hold the line. Help is here. The battle that followed was a maelstrom of light and shadow, of heroism and horror. The Ghost Fleet dove into the fray, their advanced weapons carving paths through the Void Crawler ranks. Vulcan crystal ships refracted energy blasts back at the enemy, while silvery vessels darted through impossible gaps in the enemy formation. But even as they fought, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The Void Crawler's tactics seemed erratic, almost desperate. Admiral, Dr. Zhang's voice crackled over the comm. We're detecting massive energy fluctuations from the planet's surface. It's like they're trying to tear open a hole in space-time itself. Zara's blood ran cold as the realization hit her. This wasn't just an attack. It was a last-ditch effort by the Void Crawlers to open a portal large enough to bring through their entire armada. All ships, focus fire on that energy signature, Zara commanded. We need to shut it down at all costs. As the Allied fleet redoubled their efforts, Zara made a fateful decision. Ravi, you have the con. I'm taking a strike team to the surface. Despite protests from her crew, Zara knew this was a mission she had to lead personally. Along with a hand-picked team of human and alien specialists, she boarded a stealth shuttle and plunged through Novaterra's war-torn atmosphere. The landscape that greeted them was apocalyptic. Cities lay in ruins, the very fabric of reality warping and twisting around them. At the heart of the chaos stood a massive structure, a dark, pulsing obelisk that seemed to drink in the light around it. As they fought their way towards the obelisk, Zara and her team encountered horrors beyond imagination. Void Crawler troops phased in and out of existence, their forms shifting and mutating in ways that defied logic. More than once, Zara found herself questioning whether what she was seeing was real or some twisted hallucination. Finally, they reached the base of the obelisk. Dr. Zhang, her hands shaking, began to set up the prototype disruptor device they had brought with them. Admiral, she said, her voice tight with tension. If this works, it should collapse their portal and sever their connection to wherever they're coming from. But the energy backlash, I can't guarantee our safety. Zara looked at her team. Human, Vulcan, Soviri, Zentari, all united in this desperate moment. We knew the risks when we signed up for this mission. Whatever happens, it's been an honor serving with all of you. As Dr. Zhang activated the device, the world around them seemed to hold its breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound that defied description, a scream that seemed to come from the very fabric of the universe itself, the obelisk began to collapse. Reality warped and buckled around them. Zara caught glimpses of other worlds, other timelines, possibilities that might have been or might yet be. She saw Earth, whole and unharmed. She saw versions of herself, some victorious, some fallen, and in one terrifying flash, she saw the true form of the Void Crawlers, beings of pure entropy seeking to unmake creation itself. As quickly as it began, it was over. The obelisk imploded, taking the Void Crawler forces with it. A shockwave of energy rippled outward, knocking Zara and her team off their feet. When the dust settled, Zara looked up to see a sky clear of enemy ships. The comm crackled to life with cheers and cries of victory from the orbiting fleet. They had done it. They had turned the tide. But as Zara surveyed the devastated landscape around her, she knew the cost had been high. Too high. And something told her that this victory, as significant as it was only the beginning of an even greater challenge. As rescue ships descended from orbit, Zara's mind raced with questions. What had she seen in those moments of warped reality? And more importantly, what did it mean for the future of not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy? The heart of darkness had been breached, but its shadows still lingered, and as Zara boarded the shuttle that would take her back to the Phantom, she couldn't shake the feeling that the true test of their unity and resolve was yet to come, forging the new future. The victory at Nova Terra marked a turning point in the war against the Void Crawlers. In the weeks that followed, reports flooded in from across the galaxy of enemy forces in disarray, their coordination shattered by the destruction of the portal. But for Admiral Zara Chen, the triumph was bittersweet. As she stood in the Phantom's medbay, watching Dr. Lyra Zhang fight for her life, the cost of their victory weighed heavily on her. The energy backlash from the disruptor device had taken a severe toll on the team, with Lyra bearing the brunt of it. She's stable, but the ship's doctor trailed off, his expression grim. Admiral, her neural patterns are changing. It's as if her mind is trying to process information beyond human comprehension. Zara nodded solemnly, remembering the glimpses of other realities she had seen during those chaotic moments. Keep me updated on her condition. And Doctor, thank you. As she left the medbay, Zara was intercepted by Commander Ravi Mehta. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's the President. In her ready room, Zara stood at attention as the holographic image of President Adama materialized. The leader of Earth looked both elated and deeply troubled. Admiral Chen, on behalf of humanity and our allies, I commend you and your forces for your extraordinary victory. Adama began. But I'm afraid our struggles are far from over. We've detected a massive energy signature at the edge of our galaxy. Whatever it is, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. Zara's mind raced. Could this be the source of the Void Crawlers? The true heart of the enemy they had been fighting. We're mobilizing every ship we have. Adama continued. But make no mistake, Admiral. This could be our final stand. The fate of not just our galaxy, but perhaps all of existence, may rest on what happens next. As the transmission ended, Zora allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. They had come so far, achieved so much. But now, facing an unknown threat of unimaginable scale, she felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. The Allied fleets gathered in numbers never before seen, a vast armada of ships from every corner of the galaxy. As the Phantom took its place at the head of the formation, Zura addressed the assembled forces. We stand today not as separate species, but as one united force. Her voice rang out across countless comm channels. We have faced the darkness and emerged stronger. Whatever lies ahead, we face it together. For our homes, for our loved ones, for the future of all sentient life. A chorus of cheers erupted across the fleet as they made the jump towards their destiny. What they found at the galactic edge defied description. A vast, swirling maelstrom of dark energy pulsed before them, reality itself seeming to warp and twist around its edges. And emerging from this cosmic storm came wave after wave of void crawler ships, more numerous than they had ever encountered before. The battle that ensued was beyond epic. Ships from 100 worlds fought side by side against the endless tide of void crawlers. Weapons fire lit up the void, while reality itself buckled and warped under the strain of the conflict. In the thick of the fighting, the Phantom pushed forward, leading a strike team towards the heart of the anomaly. Zara knew that their only hope lay in somehow closing this rift between realities. As they neared their target, a familiar voice crackled over the comm. Admiral, it's Lyra. I know what we need to do. Dr. Zhang, still weak but driven by a newfound understanding, explained her plan. By reconfiguring their phase drive technology, they could create a resonance cascade that would collapse the anomaly. But to do so, someone would need to pilot a ship directly into the heart of the maelstrom. Zara didn't hesitate. "I'll do it." Despite protests from her crew, Zara knew this was her destiny. As she prepared to transfer to a specially outfitted fighter, she left Ravi in command of the Phantom. "It's been an honor, old friend," she said, clasping his hand. "Keep them safe." The journey into the heart of the anomaly was like nothing Zara had ever experienced. Reality itself seemed to unravel around her, glimpses of other worlds and timelines flashing past her viewport. And at the center of it all, she saw them, the true form of the void crawlers. They were beings of pure entropy, seeking to unmake creation itself in their quest for a perfect void. With unwavering resolve, Zara activated the reconfigured drive. Energy surged through her small craft, and for a moment, she felt connected to the very fabric of the universe. In that instant, she understood. This was not an end, but a new beginning. The explosion that followed was seen across the galaxy, a brilliant flash that momentarily outshone the stars themselves. When it faded, the anomaly was gone, along with the void crawler fleet. Zara Chen was gone too, but her sacrifice had saved not just her galaxy, but countless others across the multiverse. In the years that followed, the allied races worked together to rebuild. The knowledge gained from their brush with interdimensional forces ushered in a new era of scientific and spiritual understanding. Humanity, once isolated, now stood as respected leaders in a galactic community. On the newly christened Unity Station, a monument stood in honor of those who had given their lives in the war. At its center was a hologram of Admiral Zara Chen, her expression resolute and hopeful. The inscription below read, "In darkness, we found light. In conflict, we forged unity. In sacrifice, we ensured a future for all." As representatives from across the galaxy gathered to commemorate the anniversary of their victory, Dr. Lyra Zhang, now the head of a new interdimensional research initiative, gazed up at the hologram of her old friend. For a moment, she thought she saw Zara smile, as if to say that somewhere, somehow, she was still watching over them all. The threat of the void crawlers was gone, but the legacy of courage, unity, and sacrifice they inspired would echo through eternity. Humanity had not only saved the galaxy, but had helped forge a new future, one of cooperation, understanding, and endless possibility. As the assembled beings raised their hands in a gesture of unity, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, a cosmic affirmation of the bright future that lay ahead.